Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Take a moment to close your eyes.
Let us chant Omkara. Center yourself through the breath. Take 3 deep inhalations and exhalation. Inhale. 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 Let us chant Asatoma Sadgamaya. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gentle smile, slowly and gently, you may open the eyes. Omkara, Om, in itself is a mantra. It is said the entire essence of Vedas and Upanishads is loaded into this beautiful sound symbol called Omkara or Om. And the entire Vedas are as though commentaries to explain the meaning of Om. Om is a symbol for reality. Om is the essence of the Upanishads. Om is such a loaded sound symbol. Originally sound symbol, and later that Om is represented by the visual symbol Om that you have come across the spectrum in representing Hindu Sanatana Dharma on mugs, t-shirts, pens. Sometimes we have to be careful while using these sound symbols or sacred symbols anywhere and everywhere, because somewhere probably the sanctity or the seriousness about it gets diluted. We are not taking a hard line stand that it should never be printed anywhere. Okay, fine. Rather than putting some stupid thing on the t-shirt, Om is better. But then sometimes cultures, when it comes into the realm of commercial uh, enterprise, people really don't understand. They print it anywhere and everywhere. So best utilization of this sound symbol is through a photograph or a print on your wall or your study, or probably on the book, in places where you be mindful about it, and somewhere it reminds you of this beautiful vision of the Shastras. That's the Omkara. The Omkara, the chanting that we have been doing every day, few times, in fact, quite a few times, is coming from the Upanishads. The Mandukya Upanishad and the Karika allows us to use this sound symbol in a stretched way. Pluta, we say in Vedic mantra context, where a sound symbol is elongated for the sake of meditation. Otherwise, a short Om is used in all the mantras. But when we use it for the sake of upasana, we elongate. Upasana means meditation. When we use it for in the context of meditation or as a meditative chant, we elongate it. How long do you elongate? Until the breath is there. Don't force it. Om. No. As long as breath is there, don't force it. So, few important things to note when you're chanting Om. Be seated. Om is always chanted when you're sitting, not while you're standing. That's the discipline in an elongated fashion. So when you're using Om, you be seated when you're before you start chanting Om. And then Om is closely related to Prana. What is Prana Vayu? The inhalation. You inhale and then alone you start chanting of Omkara. So just breath is very important when you're chanting Om. You inhale, and as you're exhaling, then you start chanting of Omkara. That is another discipline that you follow. And then, as I mentioned, the chant will last as long as there is breath. Each lung capacity is different. So accordingly, the elongation of the chant will be for few seconds depending upon the breath, the capacity of the lungs. Om has three elements to it. Akara, the sound the sound u, the sound makara, ma. U, ma. So that's how Omkara is chanted, as a combination of these three sounds from Sanskrit. Akara, ukara, makara constitutes Om. With the Sandhi rules, everything applied. That's about language. So what we are essentially chanting is the combination of the three elements. The sound akara, represents waking state. The sound u represents dream state. The sound makara denotes deep sleep state. And Omkara doesn't only have three elements to it, there is the fourth element to it. What is the fourth element of Omkara? Fourth aspect of Omkara is the silence which follows. That's why Omkara should not be rushed. So I'm cultivating that pause after each chant. You chant Om and there is a pause, because that silence is also part of Omkara. That fourth aspect of Omkara is called as Turiya. It represents the Sakshi, the witness of all three states of waking, dream, deep sleep. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. That which is the witness of all three states. That is the nature of the observer. The Sakshi, the Atma, is represented as Turiya. So there is no fourth state as such. Fourth is the observer, the essence of the observer, which is always witnessing, which is a witness through all three states. That is the Omkara. And chanting of Omkara brings immediate relief from stress. So there is stress that you are experiencing. Instead of looking for very different ways to handle that stress, one of the things very holistic approach that you can adopt in your life is this chanting of Omkara in any context. You take a pause, chant Om, and you'll see the difference. You'll see the difference. A beautiful short meditation could be on a day to day basis. You start, chant Omkara 3 times, observe the breath for a while, and then suppose mind is again distracted, chant Om thrice again in the middle, observe the breath for a few minutes or few moments, conclude the meditation with the chanting of Omkara again. That can be your beautiful 5 minute or 7 minute meditation practice in the morning before you uh, go into the grind of the day. It will give you, energizes you, it grounds you to face the grind. So that's how uh, you can do it. That's how you can adopt Omkara into your life. And Vedanta does the vichara, the inquiry into the meaning of Om. The meaning of Om is the meaning of life. So exploring Omkara is exploring life. Omkara vichara or Omkara inquiry is but inquiry into one's life. That's how it goes. So yesterday we discussed about Viveka, discernment. Viveka is a Vedantic word, a discipline. What is it? Discernment. What are you trying to discern? You're trying to discern the truth. What is permanent and what is impermanent. Another word in Vedanta for truth is that which is permanent. That which is permanent. How do you define truth? Vedanta says, gives you a simple perspective. Truth is that which is permanent. What is false then? False is that which is changing, that which is impermanent. That which is changing and impermanent. Now let us look at our lives within this model. What is permanent and what is impermanent in the world, in life? You see, the entire realm of drishya or observed is constantly changing. Constantly changing. As even we are looking at this plant, it is changing. We don't notice it because that change is so minute. As even you are looking at this plant, it is changing. As even you are looking at these cars, they are changing. Because the changes on a day-to-day basis are so minute, we sort of have a perception that it is all unchanging. Probably from here, from this kind of a perception and conclusion, we get the feeling that this is how it should be because we are not noticing the change. We're unable to notice the minute change which is happening constantly. Why plant? We are changing constantly. Are you the same person that you were 5 years ago? No, you have changed a lot. Is your thinking same as what it was 5 years ago? No, it was not. It is not. So we forget this, especially in relationships, where people are also constantly changing. One day in a relationship, spouse or a partner comes and say, you have changed. Of course you have changed. What else were you expecting me to be frozen or what? Change. We change. Notice that the realm of the observed, it is full of changes. And what are those changes? How do they change? In 6 ways. That's what we have discussed. Shad Vikara, they constantly undergo this cycle. They are changing in 6 different ways. Any relationship is in one of the stages. Any human body is in one of those stages. Any plant or tree is in one of those stages. But somehow, because we fail to notice those changes, we think everything is fixed. This is how it should be, and this is how it will be. And why, when life shows you that now, no, this is not how I work, we become disappointed. We become disappointed. We continue our lives with disappointments. Nobody shares that. People are disappointed in spite of all their accomplishments, in spite of all the degrees that we hold, in spite of all the things that we have done. There's a sense of disappointment for many things, small to big. We don't share. Once three friends went on a trek, Indian trek. So they went on a small peak or a mountain and then took a break. And then they ate some snacks. It was a hot, sunny day. They took a small power nap. And then there was a dilapidated old temple where the spot where they took a break. And there was this ancient carving. And there was a small, very complex carving, and it had like a kind of an aperture. So one friend got up from this power nap, person A. So this fellow goes and is trying to explore what is this, and he puts his finger into that carving. And this fellow takes out, then this fellow immediately takes out his finger. The friend B just has woken up, and this fellow sees what his friend has done. This fellow is also curious what is there over there. So he goes there and again puts his finger and he takes it back. The third one is also now has woken up and he sees that the friend B has put his finger. This fellow also goes and puts his finger and immediately screams, "Hey, what the hell? Why didn't you say that there is a scorpion sitting there?" The third one screamed and yelled at these two that, "Why didn't you tell me?" This is the story of life. Everybody is getting disappointed. Nobody is sharing that. Nobody is sharing that. Especially the Indian parents' generation. They came here disappointed, they're not sharing it. They're not sharing it. They're sharing, they're portraying to their relatives, everything is fine, everything is well. Look at me, look at me. My son went to Harvard. Look at me, look at me. They were highly disappointed inside. Look at me, look at me. So nobody is sharing that. Why this disappointment? Why this disappointment? Because somehow we have lost the ability, or we were never taught that this is how world works. Things change. Things change. In the realm of absurd, everything is constantly changing. So apply the Vedantic wisdom. That which changes is not real. That which is permanent alone is real. Now let us look at this whole blessed thing from Drik Drishya Viveka method. I am the observer, and whatever I see is the absurd. Now tell me, in this, what is permanent, what is impermanent? You, the observer, is the only constant in every perception. I'm seeing the plant, I am the observer, plant is the observed. Observed is changing. The flower is the observed, flower is changing. The water bottle is the observed, water bottle is changing. I see people, people are always changing, and I am the observer, the changeless observer. Changeless observer. In fact, there is an insight, small insight here. You have to be something permanent if you are able to see the changes, isn't it so? Only then you will have that reference. Physics. Okay, then you go to Einsteinian physics. The observer is also changed. Let's not go there. Observer. I, the observer, am ever present as the same. This observer is not undergoing any changes, simply present. Now, Swamiji, what is emotions are changing? No? See, you are looking at the emotions. You are looking at the emotion. That means what? You are other than the emotions. You are the witness to this emotion. You are the observer of these emotions. Emotions are observed. You are the observer. You are the observer. Ever same. Space like. Space like, not the space, space like. No changes. No changes. You are present. Are you with me? Ever present. So, any change which disappoints you, remind yourself of Vedantic wisdom that you, the observer, has never changed. All other things will change. What can this perspective do to you? It brings acceptance in your life. You accept changes. Sometimes changes bring happiness or pleasure in the relative realm. Some changes bring disappointments. Some changes bring negative emotions. It's okay, that's how it is. And you are an untouched observer of all these changes. Pleasure, you are the observer. Pain, you are the observer. Hooray moment, you are the observer. Wah moment, you are the observer. Ayo Rama moment, you are the observer. You are the observer. Oh shit, you are the observer. What the hell, you are the observer. Shit is a bad word, or am I allowed to use? Oh my god, then this thing it.
Use whatever word you want.
Okay. Mute it in the editing. I'm not allowed to use. Okay. Not good for a Swami to
Not
use.
good for a song.
Okay. What the hell? You are the observer. Laughter, you are the observer. There will be crying scenes also in life, that's how it is. Still, you are the observer. A very beautiful way of life where you're untouched by the happenings of, of the life and you're on a higher realm, a higher approach. A higher approach. All that is to be done, what all is to be lived, what all is to be experienced is all happening at the body, mind, sense complex at that level. But you have a higher perspective to operate. Higher perspective to operate. You know, Swami TV, Swami Tattvavidananda ji, Swamiji is teaching classes, Bhashyam classes for Chandogya there. Once he was walking in Rishikesh with the head of Divine Life Society, another important ashram. We come from the same sampradaya, Swami Shivananda ji, Swami Chinmayananda ji, Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji, and all his disciples. So there is one more ashram, a very famous monk, Swami Chidananda, was part of Divine Life Society. Swami TV was walking with him in Rishikesh many years back. Swamiji shared it in one context. So they were walking by the on the roads of Rishikesh, and then Swami TV was noticing that there was so much dirt and trash, everything thrown on the road. So because that was the context, Swami TV said, kept saying for some times, some length, what is this? So much dirt, so much filth. Why are people throwing so much trash everywhere? What is this? And in that context, Swami Chidananda told him, "Hey Swami, look up," he said. Swami Chidananji told Swami TV, "Hey Swami, look up." And he said, "There is no trash there." This is the higher principle. Now, don't stretch the example. So, should we allow the trash to be there? Should we not pick it up? Should the roads be clean? We are not discussing that. Of course, the roads should be clean. The civic sense should be there, and then we should not throw trash everywhere. That's not the point. What I'm trying to convey through the example is that when you look at life from the higher perspective, there is no trash. When you're stuck in the situations of life, emotions, situations, disappointments overwhelms you. But in those occasions, if you can rise up in wisdom from the standpoint of observer, you have a perspective to accept how life is. You have a perspective, mental space, heart space to accept disappointments. Something goes wrong terribly, I accept it. Something is extremely challenging, I accept it. Something is difficult, I'm able to see it as a situation which is going to pass. So all of it, this perspective gives you as if you're seated on a high pedestal and then looking at life. Looking at life. So it gives you a very beautiful perspective to approach life. Now, Vedanta says, Vedanta is not going to leave you with this distinction of observer and observed. Then we reach duality. Observer, observed. Vedanta takes you a step further in this inquiry. Now, let us see what is the nature of the observed and what is the nature of the observer. As the observer, you are present, you exist, isn't it so? Ask a question to yourself, do you exist? What is the answer? Show some signs of life, please. Yes. Now, in order to answer that question, do you have to consult your neighbor? No, you exist. You exist. You don't have the dependency of anything else to give that answer. You know that you exist. You know that you exist. Now, Upanishad, Vedanta asks you to recognize this fundamental reality about yourself, that you exist. You exist. Seems like a simple fact, but a very profound dimension as we explore further in Vedanta. Yes, you exist. You exist. In fact, we often are concerned, we often have so much anxiety, fear. Why? Because the way we approach this existence that you are in very contextual, relational, situational way. A work situation overwhelms you because there is a fear, will you exist in this organization, in this role, or are they going to fire me? Am I going to exist in this relationship, or am I going to be fired? Am I going to exist in this peer group, or am I going to be ignored? Am I going to continue to exist in this peer group or not? The fear comes because you think about your existence only in a relational way. But your existence is something very fundamental. Whether you are there or in the organization or not, you exist. Do not fear, you exist. Whether you will exist in a peer group or not, you will continue to exist in life. Whether you are there in a relationship or not, you exist. No need to fear. No need to fear. You derive courage from here that you exist. Then From that existence, all possibilities, all other possibilities of life shall be explored. You exist, you continue to exist. When you deeply analyze it in the context of life, a big relief, I exist. Whether I'm teaching or not, I exist. Whether I'm in this ashram or not, I exist. Whether I'm in Bangalore ashram or not, I exist. I exist. I exist. Space like. Space like. No boundary to this existence. Body has a boundary. This fundamental aspect of you, that you exist, Sat, the Upanishadic word for it is SAT, not SAT exam. Sat, SAT, Sat. Sat, you exist. Space like. Whatever happens, whatever walls that you put to the space continues to be whatever it is. Space has not undergone any change just because you have put these wooden walls. Space continues to be whatever it is. Many years back in 90s, Puja Swamiji was invited to a flat, an apartment in Mumbai. That was the time new apartments were coming in Mumbai in Indian context. So devotee very lovingly invited Swamiji, and Swamiji said, "Okay, I will come and visit and bless your home." Fine, I'll come. So he went to the flat. They received him, and whatever all the traditional things happened. And then Swamiji asked him, "Hey, nice apartment. Is this right wall yours?" So the devotee said, "No, Swamiji, that is the left wall of my neighbor." Then he asked, "Is the left wall yours?" The devotee said, "No, that's the right wall of my neighbor." And Swamiji asked, "Is the floor yours?" "No, Swamiji, that's the ceiling of the third floor. I'm in fourth floor." Is the ceiling yours? So the fellow said, "No, no, that is the ground of the fifth floor." That's the flooring of the fifth floor. "Hey, then what did you pay 1 crore for?" He said, "Space." And space is all around. Space has not undergone any change because of your change in configuration. Time comes where that walls are broken, a new structure is put. Nothing has happened to the space. Only when you look at the space in a relational way with context to the walls, then space seems lesser, more. That space gets the premium value in downtown, that space gets less value in the suburbs, etc. But space has undergone no change. Similarly, your true nature, your fundamental nature is subtle. Nothing can ever happen to your existence. You are the same existence principle. Only when you look at it in a relational way with reference to body and body's connections with various things, you exist in a context or you do not exist in an organization. You exist in a peer group or you do not exist in a peer group. But fundamentally, nothing has happened to you. Sat, continue to exist. Permanent, that which is permanent is Sat, is true, is the truth. You're there. Now, we have fixed something about the absurd. What about, about the observer? What about the absurd? The plant exists, isn't it so? This yellow flower exists. The other plant exists. The table exists. In and through all of these names and forms that we are recognizing, there is also this fundamental principle of existence, isn't it so? The very language is indicative of that. The plant is. What is the is? The word you are using, the word is. What is it denoting? Existence. Existence plus, it's as if existence plus this name and form. You're indicating this bowl is, meaning that it exists. Then comes the name and form. Very fundamental nature of all of this as well, of the absurd as well. When you can look at the absurd from the standpoint of Sat, existence, there is existence principle here, and the same existence principle is here as well. Let me illustrate it with you with a couple of examples. You'll be able to appreciate more. Now, suppose I'm closing my eyes and I touch this. Suppose I don't know what is placed. I close my eyes and put my hands on this. What is that first thing that you perceive? That something is, isn't it so? Something exists. Something exists. Whatever you touch, suppose you're blindfolded and you're allowed in this room, whatever you touch, before you can touch, feel, and then make sense out of it, first thing you recognize is that something is. Something is. Everything exists. Then you touch it little more, analyze it using your memory. You know, if something feels like this, something is hollow, then this must be a bowl. And you pay more attention to the texture, then you come to understand that probably this is a metal bowl. And suppose you have seen this bowl elsewhere and you give a tap and makes a sound, then you say, yes, this is a meditation bowl, Om bowl. You may say that. But first thing that you perceive, even through senses, is that everything is. Everything is. When Vedanta says the reality is but one, it is not addressing from the standpoint of names and forms. Of course, the name and form of this plant is different from the form of the human body, from form of the tabla, form of the harmonium, form of the chair, rug, etc. But in a fundamental way, when you analyze, what is this then? The nature of even absurd is existence. Existence. This form of the plant may change. It may become soil, but soil is. Continue to exist in another form. Nobody can take away the principle of existence in this universe. Sat all the way. Sat all the way. There is oneness. No difference between this plant and me when I can look at it, when I can appreciate it from the standpoint of Sat, from the reality standpoint of Sat. Everything is. Everything is. This insight can make us recognize something which is permanent in your life. You, yourself, and everything else. Fundamentally, everything is, nothing can change. Gives a very high perspective for you to approach life. You can deal with any changes, no fear. What is there to fear? Because things are going to change. I have nothing to fear. Because fundamentally, I continue to exist. This organization or that organization, I exist. This thing or that thing, whether it's with me or not, the principle of existence is going to be unshaken, always going to be with me. With that, I will conclude this session by giving you all one more insight. In Vedanta, the moksha, the very word moksha, is translated, or freedom, or the ultimate goal of spiritual life, is explained through another term called fearlessness. Abhayam. Abhayam, fearlessness. What is freedom? Freedom means fearlessness. What is moksha? Moksha means fearlessness. What is nirvana? Nirvana means fearlessness according to Taittiriya Upanishad, which says, Abhaya Pratishtham Vindate. This person who inquires into reality, who undergoes all the spiritual disciplines, gets established in fearlessness. That's the mantra of Taittiriya Upanishad. This person gets established in fearlessness. Take a moment to envision your life where you approach life without fear. Fear of loss, constantly this fear that what if this happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? Approach life with fearlessness. Come what may, things will change, things will happen. I will continue to be the same. I exist. Nobody can shake that existence in me. You get established in fearlessness, which is moksha. Om Tat Sat. We have time for some questions. In fact, I'm carrying some questions from yesterday. We'll discuss that. And then, okay, before that, if anything about this immediate class, if you have something to ask, go on, Rama. Okay, don't use the mic, just say without the mic, little loudly, please. If anybody has anything to ask.
Namaste, Swamiji. Could you clarify? I've heard two different phrases or pronunciations of Om, A-U-M, like Om, or O-M. Could you elaborate a little bit more on just how you're supposed to?
Yeah, the traditional way of saying is Om, the way we are chanting. I think few people are popularizing or trying to popularize breaking the sound Om, Ma. That's not done usually. That's not traditionally done. That's not the way it is done. Om. Om is the word. So it is like there is a word cat. You can say is it allowed? Is it okay? You can do it, okay, but I don't think it's very pleasant to hear. Cat. Om. Om. That's the way it is. Yeah. Yes, please.
Namaste, Swamiji. Thank you
Namaste.
so much. I have a quick question about the nature of the unchanging
Uh-huh.
self, because as you know, we listen to this wisdom and everything, it seems like there's an opportunity for growth in
Mhm.
how I perceive my surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
But then isn't that change in how I perceive things a changing of the observer, or is it like somehow separate? I think I'm a little bit confused about that.
Let me explain and see if I am answering your query. There is a bowl. I am the observer, unchanging observer, and the bowl is observed and it is constantly changing. Very clear cut distinction that I am the unchanging entity and this entity constantly changes. Now, please, can you please clarify where your query in this from here?
Yeah. So, for example, even recognizing. So maybe before today, maybe I didn't think of things that way and I didn't see things that way.
Mm-hmm.
But afterwards, now I see the bowl and I say, oh, I recognize this is the observed and I am the observer.
Yeah.
Isn't that change in perspective a change in the observer, or is there something?
No, a change, that perspective is changing in your mind,
Okay.
mind and intellect.
Okay.
So, mind and intellect were fixing all the observed to be permanent or wanting it to be permanent or wanting it to be in a certain way. But now, upon inquiry, using mind and intellect, I have recognized something deeper than mind and intellect, that the self, which is an observer, and then everything observed is undergoing changes.
Thank you so much.
Did I answer?
Yeah, that makes a lot of
Okay.
sense. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Um, so with regards to the plant being disintegrated into soil, that kind of tracks with the law of conservation of energy.
Uh-huh.
And when you ask the question, do I exist? I recognize that without the object of my mind, I
Mhm.
wouldn't be able to answer that question,
Mhm.
which leads me to feel like the presence of the object is what reaffirms my existence. But I feel like Vedanta is saying that I am the subject and not the object. So how
Mhm.
can we think of the subject as existing without any nature of objects to reaffirm its existence?
Yeah, that's why I made you take this small exercise that when you say to say that you are, it seems that yeah, you're using the faculty of mind and intellect to say that, but then you're using the mind and intellect to recognize that entity deeper than it, that which is. So even this small exercise gives you a hint and a window to recognize that there is something beyond all of it. And it seems in this way that I am using the mind and intellect to know its existence or recognize it and say it or come to this conclusion, but analyze the same in another dimension, that something is, and using, because of there's a mind and intellect available, you're using it to recognize and say it. So Vedanta maintains that fundamental principle is this existence and consciousness. Of course, in as humans, as in the given context, we have the faculty of body, mind, and intellect, and we are using it to recognize the deepest element of life, something very fundamental, truth about oneself. Did I throw some insight into
Yeah.
what you were
Yeah. It's hard to
asking?
grasp, but
Think about into this line for some time in between the class. You can again ask in the next session. Yes, please.
The young adult in me is going to ask.
Uh-huh.
Still healing. So change.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is observed constantly changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anything that changes also it changes according to some laws.
Mhm.
Those laws are unchanging. I mean, we can predict change.
Mm-hmm.
We can predict even chaos,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's going to happen. And out of chaos, order, and then the next chaos. So that is predictable. Huh? If I can predict anything, therefore, it is not so much of a change. You know, everything works within laws, and those laws, unchangeable laws, are the observed.
Mm-hmm. So you mean to say there is something like changeless laws,
yes,
changeless laws of the physics, or changeless laws of the universe?
yes, within a universe. Let's say there is another universe with different laws, but still in that universe, there must be unchanging laws for the change to happen.
Even in the context of modern physics or modern science, when you try to understand life and the laws which are operating, really speaking, I read an article which said like the insights of science that we have is not even few percentage about the universe. What we know of the universe is hardly anything. What we know how nature works, how laws of physics works is hardly anything. So we try to say that okay, this is how it works, but then a few years down the line there is some more experimentation and research gives a deeper insight about it. So to say that fundamentally universe only works according to this laws, and this is how it is and nothing else, it's an unchanging set of principles or laws, is probably not how even science is approaching it in my understanding. Or even if you want to take another standpoint, okay, you are observing a lot of changes and saying that these are the ways in these changes happen, this chaos or whatever changes happen. But then that predictability is not also full. This predictability is also not a full. I mean, we don't have the full understanding of it. We don't seem to have the full understanding. I don't know if I'm able to articulate it well. It's like you may know how these electrons, protons are interacting, you know how it's happening, but you can't really predict what is going to happen, like when I break or when it falls and when it is going to happen. No. Mm, that's not how life is functioning. That's not how life seems to be functioning. So that way, the only changeless entity in this observation is you, the observer, undergoing constantly observing all changes. And if there seems to be a pattern, you are the witness to even that pattern. Laws are but patterns. So if you're observing some pattern, you're still the observer, unchanging entity, observing the changing patterns. Changing patterns. Did I throw some insight? I'll also think about it in the context that you have brought in. If anybody has some more insight to look at it from the physics model, you're welcome to share your perspective. Yes.
So, as you may know, like the news media right now, given the certain situation, sometimes a lot of the news that we get, while it's objective, a lot of it is also to instill fear, like that there's chaos or like all these wars, for example, or like the border crisis or Canada and US fighting constantly to become one or not become a part of each other. So like in these contexts, as the observer, as the consumer of this news, how do we take it with a grain of salt and not get mixed into the way the news is trying to feed?
Question is about the news media. Do stop watching it. Stop watching it. Nothing is objective there. All the companies are controlled by some corporation, some guy sitting somewhere, and then they control the narrative. They control the messaging, they control the signaling, they control every damn aspect of the media. So stop watching it. No, nothing. Why do you need to know? If in fact we have never asked that question. We need to know only so much that you need, how much you require to function in the world that you live in. That's it. Don't need more than that. Of course, know what is happening in the world. It will help you in your career, or suppose you're trying to come up with a solution for in an entrepreneurial way or something. Okay, you need to know, but thus far, no further. It's a real life incidents. One of our students, she was undergoing, she developed acidity, I think a particular condition in acidity, stress, insomnia too, at the age of 30s. And then she went to gastroenterologist, some medications were given. She went to another whatever doctor, and then some other methods were given. Some all of it were given. Another student of mine, Dr. Gaurang in Bangalore, he's practicing something called functional medicine. It's a very holistic approach. He himself is a gastroenterologist and he's practicing this functional medicine. So I told her, okay, you consult him, because I was suddenly having allergies in Bangalore. Many people handled it, and he just put an air purifier in my room and I stopped sneezing middle of the night. Because he said there is a lot of wood in the room, and in the tropical country, that particular fungus grows under the wood. I don't know why they put wooden flooring in India. So stupid. You don't need insulation. Why do you need insulation? The 45 degrees Celsius there. So because of the moisture and the heat, that fungus is growing under the wooden flooring and cupboards, etc. That's why those toxins are making you sneeze in the middle of the night at this thing. I did not need a pill, simply so much antihistamines went into the system. Air purifier solved that problem. So I said, consult him. He seems to be locating the fundamental issue which is there before just going for medication. Then he asked 100 million things. What did you eat? What this, that, and all of that. Then he said, when he was interacting, when she consulted, this, what do you watch on, what do you watch? How much time you spend on what you consume? She said, I watch news for about 2-3 hours a day. He said, that's why it is. That's why you are having acidity. That's why you are having stress and insomnia. Stop consuming news. Zero news. Zero news. 95% the problem is handled. Can you believe it? It is a real life situation. Real life situation. So be very cautious about what you are consuming through the mouth, through the ears, through the eyes. So, in fact, Sanskrit word, the food is called as ahara. That which is consumed is food. In Shankaracharya, in a commentary, he writes, food is not only that which consumed through your mouth, food is all that you consume through your five sense organs. Wow, what an insight. So be very cautious of what you consume. You don't need the whole world, what is happening everywhere. Contextualize it with reference to your professional life, and in what is required, stay with only so much. You don't need to know everything. What aircraft was used to bomb Iran, how many bombs were carried, what is the weight of the bomb, this, that. It's simply the feed. Come morning, I was looking at the news feed. I don't need that many details. I consume for 2 minutes. That's all. Yeah. So that's all it is. Yeah. Yes, please.
Well, first of all, because we're meeting early, I'd like to thank you for your clarity and your wisdom and the way you marry the abstract, the concrete, and your joyful disposition as well. I have two questions. Do I observe, I know this is not a young adult question, but do I observe my breath?
Mm-hmm.
I suppose I imagine that. And I have a second question.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me answer your first question. Do you observe your sleep? The deep sleep?
Only when I wake up.
Did you, when I say, how was your sleep last night? Suppose the answer is, I had a deep sleep. I had a deep sleep. Death is not supposed going to be anything different from it. That's the Vedantic position. Death is not going to be something different than that. Every day, you're in fact watching the death for 8-9 hours or 10 hours if that is your sleep duration. You're observing it. So you continue to be the observer of the death even in that context. Take it like that. Another thing, another perspective. So I was in one temple and gave a lecture about Bhagavad Gita. Then the people assembled there started asking question, what will happen in the next birth? So how does the soul, jiva, travel from here to heavens? Because there is all that belief in Hinduism as well. How does this happen? Then how do, during, there is an annual ceremony called Shraddham, which is offered for the ancestors. How does the food that we offer here goes to heavenly realms, and how do the ancestors get? So all those questions they started asking me. And why do some people have to travel to hell? All of it, Naraka is the Sanskrit word for hell. All that they were asking. So I said, I'm very sorry, apology. I'm an expert in life, not afterlife. So please uh, limit your questions about life. Afterlife, I don't know. So death, because you asked, I give you an illustration. That's all about it. And also one principle I tell you all, for practical principle. If something is beyond your control, why think about it? Why bring in? Why bring in that into your life? Death, not in my control. When it happens to the body, it happens. So why mull over it? Something anyways which is not in my control. Now don't bring in this thing that Swamiji, Switzerland or Sweden or Denmark has legalized euthanasia. Shall I put an application there? No, don't put, be here. I want to live with you. Yeah. Take it in the context. Something which is not in my control, why mull over it? Leave it. One less thing to think about. Hair, one less thing to think about. Color of the clothes, every day same. One less thing to think about. Simplify life. Vedanta is simplifying your life. Second question now.
This existence that's permanent and unchanging, which is also the truth,
Mhm.
right? Is that a knowledge or belief? I apologize.
You examine. Very good question. I want you to examine that because Vedanta is not a belief system. So it has three components. One is Shruti. Shruti means Vedas or Upanishads, the knowledge coming from the scriptures. Second element to it is Yukti, the reasonings and the logic that you use. I've used many type of perspectives, reasonings to take the point of the Shruti to you, which is Yukti, reasoning. The third element, Anubhava, meaning experience, or from looking at it from a first person standpoint. Now you see it. You see it. You see that, is it a belief that things exist? There is a principle of existence, or this is just words? Are these just words and new concepts and beliefs that I'm taking back from this ashram? Examine it. I don't want you to answer to that. I want you to examine. I want you to examine. Yeah. Okay. We'll take. I'll take one question from yesterday and we'll end the session. Okay. I'll leave again big questions to next session. Significance of shaving the head for monks. In Hindu cultural context, in Hinduism, the hairs represent desires. Hairs are symbolic representation of desires. So a sannyasi, a monk, is one who is coming out of a true, fully desire-based life and committing to the study and contemplation. Thus, the traditionally, symbolically, giving up all the desires at once is done through a very beautiful ritual ceremony of shaving the head of the person who is taking into sannyasa, who's going into the life of sannyasa. And again, the discipline is maintained as a daily reminder for this monk not to go for a life truly just based on desires. The pursuit is not pursuing one's desires. The pursuit is pursuit is going after freedom, not going after desires. So, as an indication, symbolic indication, this discipline is done in a monk's life. Yeah. Okay. Take a moment to close your eyes. take a note of how you're thinking and feeling at this moment. Make a mental note of it. Let's make a peace invocation, invoking peace in our lives and for everyone else. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Slowly and gently, you may open the eyes, bring a gentle smile on the face, and look at your neighbor, person sitting in front of you. Give a good smile. Hari Om.